Grand Rising, everyone. It is Shay Seeking, and this is not your mama's Bible study. So, again, we're going to go ahead and go into some information that I've kind of spent a couple of minutes pulling up. I see images and some things like this, and then they start to play on me. And it just so happens that someone had shared. I was pulling together some information on my phone so I can do something on this whole thing about the hidden hand, and how I feel like a lot of these rituals that we feel like may be connected to Freemasonry or some type of secret society. I just want to use more common terms like secret society because, again, I don't want things to start coming towards my channel before we even get the good stuff out. So, and I mean that by saying negative energy or anyone, hating on the channel. So again, we're here to break generational curses. We are not a part of a religion, and I'm not atheist. What we're doing is taking the actual text, putting our feelings and everything else that we've been taught to the side, and we're looking at what the text in this Bible says, because I really think that they knew that it was going to come to a time when people will walk away from the church, but they also knew that you would go ahead and leave the Bible with the church. And I think that's sad because when your eye, meaning your third eye, and when your pineal gland is activated, or when you're in a certain mindset, and you've gone ahead and lifted up the veil on several things in this so-called world, okay? You start to see things differently. And I think that this is something that I like to call the Great Awakening. Again, nothing what mainstream anything has shared with you is the way that it is. So we're here to kind of put things back together. And like I said, once you go ahead and start learning how to go against the grain and not really care about people's feelings or anything, or fear of God or anybody else doing anything to you for looking at it this way, then you'll be fine. So I don't know how I'm going to put this together. I started doing it on my phone. We went over here to the desktop and I tried to gather up all the stuff that I wanted to show you, but who knows where it's going to go. This is something like a freestyle. It's like off the top of my head. Again, I'm not here to tell you what it is, what it ain't. I'm just telling you what it looked like to me. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, somebody shared this image and it just boosted me more into doing what I was doing last night. There must be religion. Otherwise, the poor would murder the rich. Okay? So we're going to go back to this caste system that we own right now, because I already know. Now, this caste system is one of the oldest forms of so-called slavery, or what you might call it here in our land, in the West, so-called West. It would be slavery. But what they called it in ancient times in, I believe it was India, maybe, it was called a caste system, and they still have it today. Okay, so they don't treat the people at the bottom as bad, but it's still there, and they treat them pretty bad. So what we already know on this channel is this represents the heavens, because there's no physical. There is a physical. Okay, so we have our own way of looking at it. We have our own biblical timeline here that we're using theoretically in order to show another more tangible, realistic form of what this book is really trying to say to us and why we would need to know it now. Okay, so the God, okay, when we look at the term heavens in etymology, when we do a thorough research on the word, it basically just means the abode of God or the house of God. And this is in the concordance as well. So nobody ever said that. They do say something about the sky, but then when you look at the sky, you'll see that the sky could also be talking about a more higher, your highness, or another level of being higher, like you see right here on this thing, like you see on your dollar bill with that piece of the pyramid, the cornerstone or the tip of it that's lifted up with an eye on it, kind of like how this cloud is here. Okay, so again, these are the successful systems. Doesn't matter if you're looking at a caste system or slavery. This caste system was said to be created by the God of creation. So, okay, if somebody is telling you that that's separate, fine. But if you want to go ahead and look at it this way and just say, I don't believe nothing that y'all say, I'm going to go ahead and look at what I'm going to look at. And then you go ahead and compare this God of creation to the one of creation in Genesis, and then you can come up with your own outcome. So we're talking about, there's only a couple of these that I can pronounce. I guess this one is the Brahmin. And this is at the highest level. Okay, so now we know like some of these degrees and stuff that people have to go up and be initiated into some of these other sectors of some of these systems that I call governing systems or government in our eyes and here in the Americas. Okay, so it consists of the priest and the academics. Now, why is that very important? Because the priest and the academics are the ones that enter your mind. Okay, so the common, anything that has to do with common sense or making any kind of real decisions in your life or living life the way that we should be, everything, or reading the text of the Bible how you should be, everything is wiped away when you're dealing with the fact that before there was ever even a government here in the Americas of the waters or the foreigners, okay, there was already nations here. Okay, the Americas was filled to the brim with people. Some of those people and most of those people were darker race people. They wanted to fool you with that whole out of Africa theory. And some of these bones and stuff that are collected are even older than the ones in Africa. There are tons of our pyramids and things that are in South America. And even when it comes to the mounds and stuff here in Americas that are older than the ones in Egypt. So let's just get that straight right here. Okay, again, let's get another thing straight. They never brought millions of so-called black people over here or Africans over here in the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. They only brought 250, the 20 some odd. Okay, and I went back on that. The fact that that might have even been white, so-called white people. White not meaning what we say in these terms today, but white meaning to a certain group of people. Okay, a certain race of people that came to the shores, and we're trying to see what could have been exchangeable between white and or so-called black or whatnot, or the dark and the light, like we talk about in Genesis, whatnot. So, anyways, when we're talking about these priests, before I get too sidetracked, while we're talking about these priests and academics, this is the main thing that they need to have in play in order to manipulate the minds, in order to obtain mass manipulation and mind control. Period. We are all under it. Though a lot of us are waking up from this. But when it comes to your church, again, they get a lot of different passes. When it comes to academics, we give them a lot of passes. Academics, you think is very fundamental and is very important. In my eyes, it's a waste of time. Okay. When it comes to priesthood, I don't need a mediator between me and my real creator, God, or what I would say would be something that is within, okay, or a consciousness or a state of mind that they've taken away from us by overly using religion and using their academics or education system and their entertainment system and all of these other things in order to take you away from yourself, using idols and have you worshiping beings that are outside of yourself instead of looking into yourself is another way that they've done this. So these people were here prior to there even being any type of governing system here. Or when we talk about the Bible text, when they said that he didn't let a man rain on the earth, we're not talking about rain drops from the sky. We're talking about, unless you're talking about this sky or this cloud, okay, we're talking about somebody to control, to subdue, to do these things to the earth, okay, to contaminate, to flood the earth, to replenish, okay, we're going to go here, okay, so again, you may be able to wake up from this or you may not, but I am telling you, I don't know about all of them, but most of these guys are against you people who I consider in their system to be the untouchables, the undesirable, the delete, the outcast, the Aboriginals, the streets, the lowest form of a slave, the toilet cleaners, the bottom of the bottom. You're not even connected to the pyramid, right? It's sitting on top of you because they need that earth to support. You are the earth that we're talking about in Genesis. You are the earth that we're talking about in 90% of the text of the Bible in my eyes, okay? You can look it up because we're going to do it here. You can follow along and stay. This is going to be, you know what I'm saying? It took a long time for them to manipulate us and put us in this mindset. It's going to take us some time to come up out of it. So if you're ready to ride with me, keep on watching. Okay. So then you have this one. You see what it says? And then this is the warriors and the kings. Now you have your army, your police force, okay? And you have your kings, which are presidents, because remember in Genesis, God said he wanted to make a man to preside. We already know, because we're going to look it up again here, that preside just is the same equivalent to president, okay? These are what the principles, okay? And these are what your, again, it's another piece to their structure that they have created upon the earth in order to put you somewhere where you can never get back up, and they will be able to, you know what I'm saying, keep on feeding or using you for food or nutrition, because that can be exchangeable for just energy or frequency or power, okay? So as long as we keep going to their schools, purchasing their merchandise, watching their entertainment, listening to their degrading music that's killing us because it's playing at a fucked up frequency, okay? And it messes with the mind, subconscious, okay? So you may not, this is what you won't even, the part of the mind that you will not even know is being attacked by subliminal messages and signs and wonders, okay? So let's keep on going. So that's what your kings and all the, this is going on in other places too. So whatever they call them there, I forget what prime ministers or whatever, okay? So these are those people that are the ruling class, or the face, the puppets that are put in place of that we will call some type of governing system. The merchants and the landowners. These are people you pay taxes to, your municipal, your city, your, you know, all of these other things that are your governors, you know, even the fact that everybody's buying up and taking up the land, or people that took the land for oil and resources, and it's all there, okay? So then the merchants, some of the first people that came and brought their ships over here because they wanted to trade, okay? But they just took over, bottom line. And whenever the earth, or the bottom, the aboriginals, because ab just means that you've been pushed away, removed, taken away from your standing. It's been given to someone else. Just like we talk about the Webster's Dictionary 1828, that it goes, the term America applies to the natives. It used to apply to the aboriginals of the Americas found here, or the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but is now applied to the offspring or the children of the European. That is these people, the Sudra. Okay, so here's where you get your natives. Here's where you get other sub-races that have all either come from another land and they share these royal bloodlines with these people that are higher up on the pyramid, or they have come here and they have flooded the earth, meaning they've mingled or mixed their seed with the Aboriginal people in order to create a certain offspring so that they can have ties to the land and then overthrow or take from. Same way we look at it. People can get mad if they want, but this is just a way where we can bring this in. The same way a lot of so-called people, black or white or whoever, well, I'll say more black people, we'll just say it, okay, or the Aboriginal, okay. We look at some of these instances in Hollywood. Once a celebrity or a celebrity gets to a certain point in Hollywood, it comes a time when they are usually, you know, like Kanye West said, they get up and they leave your ass for a white girl. So not just saying white in that sense, because I don't like to use that term, but another woman that is of a fair complexion or from a different, sub-race or group, okay? Same thing we say when we look at these older men now in Hollywood, that for some reason they have these women now at their side that they're married to that you would never think that they would even be interested in, and they seem to be a different color. So again, now whatever children and offspring they have with them will end up with their riches. It will not end up in the hands of their other children. And they don't have to even be white, okay? They can be foreign women. Anything that is of the waters is foreign. Aliens, immigrants, whatever you want to call it, they are from somewhere else. You are from here. So, I mean, a lot of us, okay, that are waking up to and this is more on a spiritual level as well, okay? This is more on a spiritual level. That's why it's happening faster to some people and it's happening in different ways for other people. Some of us have the eyes to see many different levels of this deception and we're waking up on many different levels. Some of us are just waking up in some different levels, but they're all important because they're all pieces to the puzzle and everybody is going to be able to relate to somebody else that they connect with that is going to open their eyes and then bring them to a platform where there's more people that are talking about more things that will help them see. Okay? So it's up to you. There's nobody coming out of the clouds with a horse ever to come back here and save you. It's up to us. We are the Christos. The Christos is within you. Okay? So go ahead and figure that out. Do what you want with it. This is just my opinion. This is what we're rolling with here because it seems to bring more answers than any other way. Okay? So those are the commoners, the peasants, the servants. They're still servants, but they're servants of God. See, and this is his children. See? So I'm almost wondering when we're talking about the pharaohs, since we have so many Egyptian artifacts, so many misplaced people that lived in areas that had pyramids and things like this. I'm almost wondering if there was a point when somebody went a little too deep in the face of the dark or the darkness, because once they got in the inside, they started to say, oh man, the darker races are even here, because see, the fairer people may have been closer to the ocean because they're connected to that. And because, you know, this is like the whole thing. Like if you drop off or if you're shipwrecked or whatever and you ended up being taken in by a group or a tribe. And I don't even like using tribe because I think that's their term as well. But if you were taken in by a people here, and then you mixed in and started whatever with those people, then again, that would happen more on the face or the let's say on the face of the waters or whatever, okay? Because this is where those people were coming in from. And the more deeper you get, the more it was probably not even going. You'll probably just be killed if you came that far, being someone that is a foreigner, okay? So anyway, let's keep going. So where were we at? Okay, I don't want to get too sidetracked and have you here all day. Where were we at? Okay. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So the people at the bottom would be so upset that they would want to murder the rich. And there's different ways that we can annihilate them or get rid of it or just choose not to partake in it anymore. Okay? You can do that standing from where you are. You know, all we have to do is organize. I like to say that knowledge is power and unity is key. So these are the two things that we need to keep in common as people of color around the world, and especially pertaining to my people, which I'm connected to, is the Aboriginal or the so-called Negro of the Americas. Okay? So, South America, her islands, wherever. Okay? So, again, remember, there was no barriers like this. Okay, and some of these barriers are not even like they were when they first came here. So there were no barriers like this set up when they first came here. Okay, so again, and then we notice him with his right hand. There's a lot about a right hand in the Bible, in the scriptures. I'm just pointing things out. This kind of looked like the Rosicrucian kind of thing here with the cross. This kind of looks like one of the crosses that they have on the sails of the boats that they came in here. I noticed this says code something or whatever here. He has a sword or the sword. You know what I'm saying? Then we're seeing, I don't know if this looks like I don't know what this looks like, an owl or something here. I'm not sure. But the main thing that I want to point out is, oh, and then here's his pen, which is mightier. And then here you go here. Here's this fowl of the air. And then here's I look at this as the branches or the herb yielding seed or the offspring or the, you know, and then we have here, I don't know who this woman or this person is here, but we're talking about the right hand in the jacket. And we're going to go ahead and look at a lot more images like this, okay? But just remember, take note, okay? And hopefully this will help you when you're reading the text, if you choose to do so. When you're talking about the fowl of the air, we are not talking about birds. There are so many more different animals on this earth. I don't know why people are okay with feeling like it was just important to talk about a beast of the field and not even be specific, and a fowl of the air and not be specific as to what we're really talking about in the biblical text. And I'm going to show you here that we're probably more than likely talking about people's family crest, coat of arms, or their heraldry. Okay. So again, that was what he said. I've told you about the caste system. Now, we have plenty of images online, and maybe I'm going to show you some in a minute. But this came to my mind the other day too. Okay, and I was going through the Moorish crest. Okay, and then some of these guys have hair like this, but most of them have curly, kind of cotton, fluffy, curly hair. Okay, and they're on the crest by themselves. Starting out, when you go back to the earlier versions, there's just a man that is black. Now that's black. We're in America. We're copper, brown, red. We have a yellow hue to our skin. And, again, I'm not saying that there's no way that we cannot be a people but what I'm saying is that we were here prior to, what do I want to say? We were here prior to colonization, or even before some of these God-verning forces, but their family lines were also here as pilgrims and all types of things too. But it doesn't matter. If you want to go back with that Africa theory, you can go ahead. But here, I think that the whole earth, the land, or this plane that we're on, was filled with darker races of people at some point in time. And there is something like the nothing from the never-ending story that has come through and flooded or pummeled the earth. Okay? And that is all earth. That is the so-called black Chinese, the so-called black Japanese. I've read about these. They're not in your textbooks, but it doesn't matter to me because I'm resonating on a different frequency here and I'm seeing different things, okay? And this is just what I do for fun. So there's nothing else that I even want to do really with my time because I feel like this is just something that I have to do. So on that note, we have this man here. Usually they're in the middle of this. There's no animals here. But you remember in the Bible when it says that it's not good for man to be alone. I'll help him. I'll make him a helpmeet. And then we talk about the fowl of the air and the beast of the field to come on to the man, and he'll tell them what their name is. So again, I believe that this represents more of the British something, nobility or whatever is going on there, and then the eagle represents. Or it said it can be a sparrow, an eagle, or something else. These things represent your Spanish or Spain, Germany, France, and a couple of other places. Those are just the ones that I can just think of at the top of my head. We're going to go into one of these scriptures that I want to talk about. So here, okay, so here's another form of it, okay? Here's another form of this guy here. And then here you go with some, I don't know what this, some bees or something. You have your fowl of the air. We're going to talk about Napoleon's coat of arms and his crest. We have these here like this. We have this. And then there's someone, I think it's Micah King on my Facebook that I'm friends with on Facebook. He does something with the whole thing of the splicing, or how the European and the African or the African race might be the ones who sprouted I don't want to say Caucasian, I'm just going to say European. Okay, about the whole mixing and mingling, okay, of the European, the so-called black and the so-called white. And I just started looking up into something about the white Moors and the black Moors. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on here that we're not aware of because we don't dig this deep. We think that the Bible study, and to be honest, I've never been to a real Bible study really that I can remember what they might have done there, but probably one or two when I was younger. But I don't think that they're looking into etymology, and I don't think that they're doing this. Okay. So, I think this is something has to represent of this. Maybe the black nobility. When we even talk about the black pope, that's what this one reminded me of. It's just a lot of stuff that's screaming out. This is the flourishing okay, or the creeping thing that creepeth on the earth, that represent, and you always usually see these with a knight. There's a knight or something there. Oh, like this one. When you get this flourishing and stuff. And just think about the wallpaper in the White House. There's different places where you'll see these things that they still use them to this day, and you don't think that there's no further meaning. And even when we talked about the caste system, I did a video a while back, and we pulled up some of the images of how they were saying this is a Spaniard with a slave, and then it would show how the child would look after they were together, and then to take the child and put it with another lighter version person, and what you would get. So how they were subduing and basically replenishing the earth, because the earth is you. So again, you wonder if I'm telling you that most of you so-called black people were here, and even if you don't believe that, there were dark-skinned people here prior to 1492, and Columbus spoke of them, Cortez spoke of them. All of these people spoke of them. Just because it wasn't in your textbook doesn't mean a thing. They know you're too busy working and going to school for an education that's just going to put you in modern day slavery even further. It's just going to put you in debt and make you have to work even that times harder and entrap you. This is why they send our children to these schools for through the 12th grade. Now they want to send them from from 2 years old up. Okay. And then once they go out in the real world and get a taste of it, they send them right into college. Well, there's a lot of money that comes with paying for college. And some of these people are going to end up, some of these children are going to end up with unforgiven debt that they're going to have to be paying for the rest of their life. Okay. And then they're going to get out of school to find out that they can't even get a job in the field that they wanted to go into. And so this is something that we have to talk about. You know, entrepreneurship is a real live thing, and instead of spending that money there, if you know your child is passionate about something, they will work for a certain thing, and they enjoy doing something, why not invest in them opening up their own business instead of sending them off to college? See, we've had too many people over generations telling us we need to go there. It's, you know what, if your child didn't like being in school and was antsy and didn't do well with teachers and authority in school throughout the time they were there, or with attendance, why would you go send them off to college? See, now, if you want to be a doctor or something, go ahead. If you want to learn a trade, go ahead. I encourage this because you can then open up your own business with this. But just making these kids just go to college because it look like it's the thing to do is nonsense to me. So, especially when it goes to, a couple extra dollars people might get for a bachelor's degree or something. And I know people are going to get offended by me saying this, but if we don't bring these things to the table and start showing people how we've been played all this time, then, what is there? There is no hope. Okay, for the humanity as a whole, and especially the darker race Aboriginal peoples of this world. So, and I'm not saying that all these people were white, so-called Caucasian, or, pale-skinned individuals. Some of these people look just like you, and they still in the entertainment industry, milking you just like they do today. And then they go over to Africa and build things for them. Even though some of these people are the richest women in the world, they live right in Chicago, and that's where the murder rate is going crazy. But they will take their money over to so-called Africa, okay, and they will build schools and all kind of things over there, never even addressing anything that's going on really heavily in their own neck of the woods, because they are not you, okay? They're a part of that system, and they're probably, if they get that big, they're a part of a bloodline, okay? So, probably of some of the people that actually led them over here to help them do some of the things that they've done to the Aboriginal of America. Okay. So, let's see. We've already taken into account how those structures were already there. Okay. Let's see. Let's go into this whole scripture here. I think that's all. Yeah, because I don't even want to go into that. So, somebody asked where, but I think they meant were. Well, they did say were. I'm saying where. Excuse me. So it says, were the fowls created of the water or from the ground? This was from 2008. I think it's just an old blog. Sometimes you can find these old blogs, and there's so much information in there. Okay. And it says Genesis 1:20, and God said, let the waters, which I'm telling you represents foreign people, foreign entities that are foreign corporation or business that is performing in a small plot of land that may be called the District of Columbia, where a lot of your capital stuff resides. And they are a foreign entity that has been put here for reign, in order to reign on the earth and to rule over the waters that they brought with them. Okay? So again, were you ever supposed to be a citizen of the United States Incorporated? Or are you just American or sovereign people to the Americas? Okay? So let's keep on moving. Bring forth abundantly the moving creatures. We know that a creature is just something that was created. This could be a boat. This could be a boat. Okay? This makes more sense than anything that you've heard so far. Okay? So, that hath life. Again, if people are running around saying, and if the law is actually in somewhat saying, depending on what level you are able to interpret it, that so-called black people, and that's not a nationality or a race, okay? African American isn't either, which might mean that you are dead by law, okay? Which might mean this is why people can, or that you're property of that corporation or a citizen of that corporation. Because people seem to think that in Deuteronomy, we're talking about a ship, okay? When we might be talking about all of these different relationships and penmanship and citizenship and all of these other ships that we have going on with this entity that make us property of them. Which would, if they came here and took the land and resources and removed you from your origins, okay, and your culture and everything, then that would make you a prisoner of war, okay? And the other slaves that were here were people that were, some of them were fair-skinned people, okay, that were brought over here from Africa and from other places as well. We'll just say you're Afri-Asia. That's what I call that place over there. This is the Americas and her islands, okay? That's how I do it on this channel, just to keep it kind of cordial, okay? So, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with those people. I'm just saying we have to cut the cord because, again, they want you to think you're connected to a landmass that is not you. This is where your ancestors are. They have been here for longer than any other people that is on this land right now. Okay? So, the creatures that hath life. Again, so a boat could bring forth creatures that hath life, and fowl that might fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And the firmament is just means this thing that they've, this system or whatnot, or the grounding, or we'll go through it. We'll look at it again. Okay, so the firmament just means that. Okay, and sometimes in a visual way, I look at it kind of like this. This is their firmament, and it's on top of you. Okay, and again, when we're talking about fly above the earth, again here, and then bring forth these living beings. These are living. See, they're still living. Some way they're still living, okay? Because they're connected. They're a people of. When you check that box and say you're black and African American, it just says you're people connected to somebody of the origin of Africa. No, you're a racial group connected to something about Africa. When you check European or white, okay, or Caucasian, you are checking off that you are a people, a certain peoples of an origin of these peoples that now reside here. Okay, and those are the people that have your name. Those are the people that are using your title, okay, in order to be a living creature on the earth. Okay, okay. So again, those are the people that have been sprung from the indigenous or native people that sprung from the earth, or the foreigners that were sent here because they weren't wanted in whatever place they were at. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, and it says Genesis 2, in heaven is just the house of God, and he resides, or the governing forces reside in a certain place that is higher than, or put up on a pedestal with your stars, your celebrities, you know, and your religious figures and all of these other people that are basically paid in a sense to keep you dead and keep you asleep. Okay, so Genesis 2 and 19. And out of the ground could represent, again, people or inhabitants, okay? The Lord God. Now remember, Genesis 1 is the creation of God with the capital G-O-D. Well, capital G and just O-D. And then in the second chapter, okay, just like it says here, it shows it right here. Go back and look in your own Bible. G-O-D. Sorry, that was my phone. G-O-D is the creator of Genesis 1, and the Lord G-O-D is the creator of Genesis 2. Go back and look. And these are the minor little things that you didn't pay attention. So they didn't change it. They just didn't let you know that there's a difference between the two. Okay? They didn't let you know that there's a difference between the two. You just melted it all. But then again, if we just talked about God, G-O-D, in Genesis 1, why we changed it to Lord God in Genesis 2? Did he get a promotion, or is this somebody else? Just a question. And out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field. Okay? And every fowl of the air. We can find a beast of the field later on. But I believe this person right here is a form of the fowl of the air. And I also believe this has something to do with the midst of the garden. And let me tell you why. When we look at the Americas and we look at how the Louisiana Purchase happened in 1803 or whatever time around that time that it happened. And it had something to do with this dude. Look up the map. That's in the midst of the garden. And the man that would be planted in the east of the garden to preside over the earth and subdue it would be planted in the place, the garden that he created. And the man will be placed there to keep it and to trim it and to cultivate, just to do it how they want them to do it. Okay. And it's just so funny, while that District of Columbia, okay, or that republic, okay, would be located somewhere between Maryland and Virginia. And I look at that as a symbolic for the Virgin Mary. Okay. There's a lot of things that tie into this, but again, so we don't take so long, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. And it says, in every fowl of the air, and okay, so beast of the field and fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called them, okay, called every living. See, and this is why Eve is the mother of the living, because, and it might even represent your first lady, in a sense, on our timeline, using our theory on this channel. Okay, so then that would be the mother of all living, because she would be the first lady, and that means that she is the mother of the living beings that are on top of the earth, stepping on the earth and keeping them down on the ground right here in the Americas. Okay. Adam called every living creature. Again, some of these were created. So more than likely, we're talking about the indigenous and the native populations that are upon the earth, that sprung from the earth. This is how you get an offspring. They sprung from the earth. The earth were the people that were here prior to any form of Genesis, your creation. Okay? If anything, it was the light and the dark that was already there. If anything, it was the darkness that was on the face of the deep. So what I'm telling you is that Genesis is their creation on top of a nation that was prior to already there. Same way they hid the fact that most of us were already here. They've hidden the fact that you were here even in Genesis, because this is their story on top of your story. That's just what it is. You can get mad if you want. And this is why they have you, the ones that are worshiping this being, okay, that is an idol, somebody outside of yourself, the way that they do now and for the longest time. And nothing's changed for you, because this is not yours. This is not yours. It was not for you. And you'll see, even when it comes to Jesus saying, I did not come for anyone but the children of. Okay, so don't say he came for everybody if he didn't come for nobody but the children of. And then you would have to know who the children of this are today in order to interpret who he would be talking about now. It's just the bottom line. Okay, so in every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them, and whatsoever he called the living creatures, that was the name thereof. So again, we're going to go ahead and stop right here, and I'm going to go ahead and keep on going. I got a bunch of stuff. But I have to do something really quick. So I will come right back to you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you do, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you like. And I will be back soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.